Today, I'll be going over the concept of opportunity cost. So, what is opportunity cost? It's the best next alternative to your current scenario or situation. Suppose you're trying to decide between whether to rent out an apartment on the Upper East Side in New York or to rent out an apartment down in Astoria, Queens. If the apartment on the Upper East Side seems to be more expensive, and that's a factor you're taking into while making your decision on which apartment to choose, then your next best alternative would be the one in Queens, Astoria, given that apartment is cheaper for you. So, that basically highlights opportunity cost as a principle. It is the best next alternative you have in comparison to your current situation, and this principle is not only fundamental to economics but to a lot of life decisions as well. And it's one way you can put economics principles into perspective while considering how they have an impact on our life. Okay, here I have a problem related to the concept of opportunity cost, and it's from a economics college level exam. Jenny is deciding on whether to go vacation to the Bahamas or Jamaica. If she goes to the Bahamas, she will spend $500 on a flight and $100 on food. If she goes to Jamaica, she will spend $450 on a flight and $150 on food. If she goes to the Bahamas, however, there is a free museum that she would get $100 worth of enjoyment from. What is Jenny's opportunity cost to go to Jamaica? So, as many of you can tell right off the bat, we know that whether she goes to Jamaica or the Bahamas, B for Bahamas, J for Jamaica, she's spending the same amount of money on a flight and food. So she's spending $600 to go to each country pretty much, and that does not change. However, we know that she would get $100 worth of enjoyment if she goes to a museum in the Bahamas. So even if she loses 600, she's gaining $100 worth of enjoyment from a museum in Bahamas, but nothing from Jamaica. So as a result, if she does go to Jamaica, she is losing out on that $100 worth of enjoyment. That is her opportunity cost here. That is the $100 worth of enjoyment. Okay, here's another problem to go over relating opportunity cost to economic profit. Todd had $90,000 in economic profit last year. That year, he had revenues of $500,000 and explicit costs of $300,000. If his only implicit cost was his salary he had to give up to start his business, what was his former salary, which is the opportunity cost? So, quickly to go over the concept of economic profit, if it's not been taught in your current university economics course, economic profit always equals revenues minus costs, and your costs is the sum of your explicit costs and your implicit costs. Explicit costs are costs that you directly pay for, pretty much. For example, renting out a facility for your business, while implicit costs are the costs that aren't really part of your whole business, but they do pay a price. For example, implicit cost is how you could have rented out a certain building you bought, but instead you are using it to run your factory. That is an implicit cost. You could have made money off of that building by renting it out, but you're using it for your own good for that business. That is an implicit cost. So here we know that he had $90,000 in economic profit last year. So basically plugging in to our formula all those values, 90k in profit equals the revenues of 500k minus your explicit cost 300k plus your implicit, which I'll just label I. And if you solve that equation, you should be getting I as $110,000. So that is his implicit cost, which is also his opportunity cost. So I hope you got a better sense of what opportunity cost is, and please give me feedback on how I can explain topics like this much better. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much.